Good morning and blessed Sabbath to everybody out there. I'm coming to you live from Kundal West in the west of Australia. Most of you know me by now and have been following my casts for the past few years. I have not come live for quite a while now. I have been working really hard in my ministry, which is, for most of you know, called Health Reform. Health Reform has taken in a lot of sick people with diverse disease, and I've been working with cancer patients, with patients with tumors of all types. I've been working with people, even with mental issues, a lot of depressed people, depression recovery, and I just have been, it's actually been very, very overwhelming because there are so many different types of disease I've taken on that I have been totally overwhelmed myself with the amount of sick people that have come through my clinic and the amount of work I was able to do, just utilizing all the natural therapies. And, you know, I just want to praise God for the help that He's given me through all the learning that I've done through the diverse ministries and different institutions I've been training and studying with. I'm actually now really, really excited because I'm just going through one of the most interesting training sessions that I have decided to do, and that's live and dry blood analysis. So that's just something extra I've decided to add to my portfolio, which I believe is going to help me immensely with my patients. You know, the reason for me coming on today is, as most of you know, I'm Seventh-day Adventist. It is Saturday today. It is my Sabbath, and I am a missionary. And my first call is to the mission. I made a choice to work in the mission field as a medical missionary, I call myself. And I've been loving, as I said, all the training that I've gone through Adventist institutions as well as non-Adventist institutions. Today is, you know, we are living in some very interesting times and yet scary times. And I know a lot of people out there, when they hear messages like this, they call people like us who give the loud cry, this message, they call us extremists. And I just want to say one thing this morning, that perhaps it is an extreme view, but I still feel, for me personally, I'm going to give this message, and I want people to know that we are living in the last days because we're looking around and we can see what is happening. You know, there are no coincidences in the world, and we know that the things that are happening through the papacy, the things that we've seen even through our own denomination, are all signs of the times. I'm not going to go into great detail of what the signs of the times are, because a lot of you are following prophecy. But today I'm specifically going to talk about one of the most important works that there is now for us to be doing, because a lot of people say it's not by works. And I'm not talking about how much work you do going to take you to heaven. I'm here to talk about the health message, the health reform, and why it is so important for us to get into this health message. Now, we know that we have had over 160 odd years ago, a wonderful prophet, Ellen White, who gave us so much information. And, you know, the more I talk about her and the more I see people are wanting to pull away, people are wanting to use all types of language as far as she's concerned, it strengthens my faith to know that, yes, she is a true prophet, because everybody follows popularity. And I'm not here to follow any popularity contest. I'm here to give truth. I'm here to understand truth. And our prophet spoke about how we are now to unify and by true medical missionary work, prepare the way for our coming King. Let us increase in knowledge of the truth, she said. And you know, Seventh-day Adventists, I believe, were given and the message, they have been set in the world as the watchmen and light bearers. I listened to Pastor David Gates give a beautiful sermon, and he talked about the same thing that I'm mentioning now, the light bearers. Who are the light bearers? And too often SDAs are too frightened to stand up and admit that we are the light bearers. And they're too scared to talk now against what is reality. And unfortunately, yes, we know that the conference too don't want us talking too much about the prophet and don't want Ellen White to be as such, or called as such, in our denomination. But what I will say is that Ellen White said herself, in a special sense, Seventh-day Adventists have been set in the world as watchmen and light bearers. To them has been entrusted the last warning for a perishing world. They have been given a work of the most solemn import, the proclamation of the first, second, and third angels' messages. There is no other work of so great importance. They are to follow nothing else to absorb their attention. Now, I ask you a question. Is the health message to be part of this three angels message? I believe it certainly is. It is the right hand of the gospel. Have you noticed how the world is working now in this day and age? Everybody wants to be vegan. Everybody wants to be vegetarian. There's cafes, restaurants popping up everywhere in Australia. And I'm sure the same in America. Lots and lots of vegan and vegetarian restaurants. But at the same time, whilst we're noticing this change, Adventists are becoming carnivores. And it's really interesting to pay attention to these things because we are coming to a very, very serious time. And I, especially today on the Sabbath day, made a decision that I wanted to speak on this because the truth for this time is so important. And we know that the health reform is to be included, connected with the third angel's message. We can't preach the third angel, the third, without the first and the second. It is to be proclaimed with a loud voice, meaning with increasing power. That's what we're told in the Spirit of Prophecy. As we approach the great final test, this test must come to the churches in connection with, Ellen White said, the true medical missionary work. Now that really excites me because I know that I love the true message, the true health reform message. And she says that which is of the most importance is that the students be taught how to represent aright the principles of health reform. So health reform is very, very important, a very important message. And I have been training in the health reform since the year 2000. I started my first modalities way back then. And interestingly, I started, in fact, before 2000, I started in 96 with psychology. And I did not complete my psychology degree because I found it wasn't really for me. And then my first modality in health was massage. I did communication and counseling after that, but I continued. And ever since then, I have been training nonstop. In fact, I find that through all the training I've done through the Adventist institutions and non-Adventist institutions, there is such a big gap with what we taught and how we trained. Now, I've come full circle with all the training that I have done and recognize that my clients that come and see me, the way that I'm working with them, the simple remedies, the simple treatments are actually what's working the best. I do believe in functional medicine, and I am enrolled and training with a wonderful school in America. And for those of you who are interested to know more about it, please inbox me. I don't feel it's right for me to push any one school here, but I really love the school that I'm training with at the moment. And I still have so much to catch up with because I've just been very, very busy over the last few years with actually working with people. So the natural remedies for me is what I'm finding are the simplest remedies, and it's actually working the quickest and the best on very, very ill bodies. Yes, it's good to understand the anatomy and the physiology, because when we get somebody who's ill and we can map out what's going on through the system, we are able to treat the cause, not simply the symptoms. Now, health reform is all about learning how we can treat simply we have come to a time where there is so much depression and so many mental illnesses out there, and people are coming all the time to see me with these. And unfortunately, we find we're doing a lot of training on the body, but we're not training on the mind. But we see now that the mind and the body, it's interconnected. In fact, every system is interconnected. And I'm really excited to be able to teach as I'm learning, because I've been trained in the medical missionary work through a couple of wonderful Seventh Adventist institutions. Again, I don't like to mention names, but if you're interested to know where I've studied, please feel free to inbox me. But that which is important to me is the true medical missionary work. It is the duty of every person, Ellen White says, to become intelligent in regard to disease and its causes. And I believe that is so because too many people are entrusting their bodies with physicians who actually have not been trained even in nutrition, who don't understand how the system works through the lack of, or perhaps too much of, anything, whether it's in the nutrition or the drinks or even the drugs that they're taking. So this for me has been a very important training that I've done, and I'm really excited and want to share it more and more. I will be coming on and talking more about health and the actual training that we are doing here ourselves on our property. I have a 5-acre property, and I'm just about to start going mobile, which is really, really thrilling me to bits. I'm going to be moving around in a caravan and working more and more, perhaps even through the desert of Australia. I did work in the desert of Australia 3 years ago. I absolutely loved it, formulated a lot of relationships with beautiful Indigenous people, and I'm excited to go back there. But what we know is, as religious aggression subverts the liberties of our nation, those who would stand for freedom of conscience will be placed in unfavorable positions. For their own sake, we're told they should, while they have opportunity, become intelligent in regard to disease, its causes, prevention, and cure. Now, I said to begin with, we're living in very interesting and very, very scary times. And that is why I mentioned that statement, which is from Councils of Health, page 506. We need to engage ourselves in this work, and not everybody is called to the mission field as a medical missionary, but we are all called to be understanding and learning. In fact, we were told through some of the writings of the prophet that as early as 4 years of age, our children should be learning physiology. And the more I meet people with young kids and they are homeschooling them, the more I'm seeing that their focus is still not on the health reform, and that really is sad. We have a wonderful group of people that have started training with us, and I'm seeing that these young people are just taking in like sponges the health reform message. It's beautiful to see that, and I really want to spread more and more this health reform to the parents, pardon me, with young kids, because I'm finding that they are taking their families, their children to hospitals, to doctors, simply because they're getting severe headaches or because they've got a big cut on their leg. This is something we should be able to do in our homes. We were taught this over 160 years ago. You know, Mother Teresa carried around the ministry of healing with her. I've mentioned this in a few of my, sorry, I'm so used to lecturing that I want to say lectures, and on Facebook, this isn't a lecture, I'm simply talking to you. But Ellen, pardon me, I'm really tired. I'm sure you can see that. I'm actually working with somebody who's been really unwell. She's been with me now for about 6-7 weeks, and she's got another 3 weeks with me. So I am feeling a little bit overwhelmed and tired. So please forgive me for my stammering at times. Anyway, as I was saying, Mother Teresa carried around the Ministry of Healing in her apron, and she worked with a Seventh Adventist gentleman who at first wasn't forthcoming in letting her know he was Seventh Adventist. And when she found out, she asked him why he didn't say he was, and he expressed his fear that she wouldn't want to work with him if she'd found out he was Seventh Adventist. And at that point, she took out her Ministry of Healing and said, have a look. I have the Ministry of Healing. My whole ministry is based on Ellen White's Ministry of Healing. And that I thought was wonderful. So believe me, we must not underestimate those red books. And these are the books that I've been studying out of, and I have been gaining a lot more knowledge through those red books than I've actually gained in any institution that I have learned from. In fact, I am startled as to how much healing takes place when we go back to the simple remedies. I'll give you just a little example. We in the spring now in Australia, we've just come through winter, and there was a really severe cold going around. I got it myself, my grandchildren, my children, my husband, and it was a really severe cold that led to somewhat chronic cough. I coughed for about 4 weeks, and I actually got it from my grandchildren because I was looking after them. And I don't get colds very easily because my diet is pretty good. But this cold seemed to have really hit me, and I was down for a fairly long time. But what I found helped me the most was just using a simple cough mixture that Ellen White said she used. And that was simply honey mixed with, I'm sure many of you out there know what it is. That's correct, eucalyptus. So I am just thrilled with these simple remedies. My husband got the chronic cough after I did, and he said to me, I cannot believe how good such a simple remedy is, like honey and eucalyptus. Well, there you have it. We need to get back to the simple treatments and the simple training. You see, as I said, we are living in interesting times. Why interesting? Because there is more knowledge out there, much more knowledge than there has ever been. We see every kind of doctor out there. We've got every kind of thirst and, you know, therapists of all sorts. Yet we're seeing cancer patients on chemotherapy, which we know and are finding out more and more and more has helped very few people. And most oncologists have said they themselves would not use chemo on themselves or their close family members. So we need to look at this statement, we are living in interesting times. Well, there are a lot of people out there in the health industry. I trained in an institution called IIN. This is the first one I will mention. Why? Because there are thousands of people training there. I think in the intake I was in, there were over 5,000 students, and a very small amount were SDAs. So whilst the world is running to become health practitioners, health coaches, functional medicine practitioners, we have naturopathy, homeopathy, herbalists, which I've done all of them. We have so many different types of therapies and therapists, and yet I am finding personally all I have to do is go back to the simple treatments given to us in those red books, and that's what's working. Interesting, very interesting. So my call today is to not only Seventh Adventist people, but everybody who's interested in understanding where the world is heading, to look at prophecy and to look at the call of the papacy, and perhaps as we're seeing what is going on in the Catholic Church with all the abuse, we can see how close we are to the end. I myself have been in a Catholic school as a 4-year-old girl, a boarding school in Africa, And I can tell you a lot of stories about that school that were very, very negative. Some kids that I know that have been there had positive experiences, but I myself won't say my experience was a positive one. Now, my focus here is not on the Catholics, please. My focus here is on the times we're living in. And we need to be honest, and we need to look at what is happening in these times, because it is very, very interesting and very scary, because time is up. I ask SDAs every time I meet them how many medical missionaries we have in a room. And most of the time there is one hand that goes up out of a group of 36 or 40 people. And that's not enough, because we're told that where there's one, there should be 10. And I'm seeing here in Western Australia a very small amount of medical missionaries and SDAs that are actually working in the health reform, or that have the understanding of how to treat and heal different disease. They're very, very limited to what they can do. Everybody knows what a poultice is. Everybody knows how to use charcoal. Everybody knows how to use the simple remedies. Everybody knows how to use fermentations. Everybody knows how to massage sore shoulders. But as soon as somebody comes to them with disease that's more severe, that's where they become stuck and they're not sure where to go or what to do. So I encourage everybody today to please look at the health reform, to please pay attention to what Ellen White has suggested, that every person in the church should be a medical missionary. And I encourage you today to inquire, if you don't know, where you can go to learn, because everywhere around the world there are wonderful places that you can learn. There's online training. We ourselves give online training, and we are excited to be working more and more online, because we're getting more and more requests for online training. I'm excited to be going to India soon, and I think I have Paul also online. Thanks, Paul. How are you doing? Thank you for coming online. I look forward to being with you in India. I'm not sure what date I'm coming, as I keep saying, but it looks like the Swiss Embassy have pushed forward, and I will be getting my passport back this year, I believe. So I still don't have a date, but I look forward to coming to India soon. So thank you for those of you who've taken a minute to listen to what I've had to share this morning. I've been a bit tired and overwhelmed with my work, so a little bit jittery. Sorry about that, but I've come with my heart, and I will be addressing a lot more disease in the next few days. I've just written a few publications on diverse disease, and I would like to be sharing that around fairly soon. I'm going to be printing some of these publications, because a lot of people are asking me for printed material. If you have any questions, please feel free to send any questions in via my inbox, messenger. That's an easy way to contact me. Or please send me an email to Michelle, Michele, at healthreform.com.au. I'll actually put it up on a comment box after I leave here. So thank you again for tuning in. I wish you a blessed Sabbath to those of you who are celebrating a beautiful Sabbath day. It has been lovely out here in the hills. It's been very, very cool. We've had a bit of rain the past few days, but we praise the Lord, because we welcome the rain for our gardens and for the farmers that are surrounding our area. So thank you very much for tuning in, and I look forward to speaking to you in a day or two, where I'm going to be talking about disease. Thank you. Have a blessed, blessed Sabbath. Bye-bye.